This video is about our capabilities and overall introduction to the company. Usually when we perform a strategy presentation or an audit presentation, the first portion of that meeting is done by explaining who we are, how we're structured, what our philosophies are, our overall goals, all that kind of stuff to help potential clients understand how it might, how our strategy works, how our processes are, what systems we have in place, that kind of thing. So we're going to go through that. The table of contents, who we are, what we do, case studies, who we serve, how we work, accountability, client testimonials, reporting and communication, billing structure and contract terms, and Facebook and Google ads. So that's the audit portion, which we're not going to go over. Each of these sections is not going to be gone through on every presentation, and a few of these slides we're going to end up removing and changing, I'm sure, but you get the gist of the concept here for the company and how we do things. So let's get going. Who we are, it says we are a full funnel growth and performance agency, amplifying brand values. We're a team of passionate, unparalleled digital marketers and strategists. So it's important that you understand the different types of clients we're going after and why people hire us. Attention Agency is a performance marketing agency, a direct response agency. Direct response, of course, is an action based on an ad. So there's a direct responsive action from something that we put up. And that type of marketing is very day to day, week to week, month to month. And as a result, a lot of clients like that we do month-to-month contracts on an a la carte basis, because it shows confidence in our skill set and they feel like they have the freedom to move on if things aren't working out for them, something to that effect. So at a high level, our company is very motivated to have clients perform and stay with us a really long time, and we do that through performance marketing. All of the things that we offer, all the services that we offer, the systems we've put in place, and things we're improving are done to make performance marketing better. It's for no other purpose. There's no branding, there's no Amazon, there's no CRO, which perhaps we could add at some point, or SEO we could add at some point. We don't do any of that stuff. We do Facebook ads, Google ads, email marketing and management, and post-production creative services, because those are the four things that really impact the ROAS, which is the return on ad spend. We're working with just D2C brands. These are companies that are digitally native that more often than not don't have major retail presence, and if they do, they've got a lot of platforms maybe they're selling on online, and we've got a overall strategy that does involve general brand lift perhaps. But more often than not, we're looking for companies that want to scale, that are well-funded and in the early startup phases perhaps, or at least has a good concept for a company. And those are really something that we're going to look for, is higher SKU counts. Established brands is really our sweet spot, between 2 and 50 million in sales. Those are companies that we've really been able to accelerate growth for, or at least if they're not looking to accelerate growth or scale, at least improve ROAS. A little bit about the founders. If it's applicable, we started out as affiliate marketers in the direct response space, ended up starting our own consumer goods and software products, and then transitioned into an agency. So none of us come from the agency world. We all come from direct response and product ownership. So as the roots of the company and an overall theme for our company communication is grounded on ROI, not necessarily ROAS. You might have a 3x ROAS and not be making money. So we're very, we have a lot of empathy for what it's like to own a product, their customers, clients' goals, the idea that something's, performance returns might not be good enough. And we talk about that to a great extent. So, even though the partners might not be on the calls, I think it's important to understand that the foundation is built on a great empathy and understanding of what it's like to own and operate a business and communicate to a board perhaps how performance is going. What we do, as the next slide, is PPC, SEM, and social media marketing. So if we've got Facebook, we're doing social, and that includes Instagram. Anytime you say Facebook, we always just automatically include Instagram there. And the Google Suite, the entire Google Suite, is Google Search, Display, Shopping, YouTube, and we run traffic on other platforms as well, Snapchat, Pinterest, LinkedIn. It's not really what we're looking for. Most clients aren't necessarily looking for Pinterest and Snapchat and TikTok traffic right now. The 800-pound gorillas are Facebook and Google. You're either running traffic on Google and Facebook, or you're not really running traffic. And if you want to do these other platforms, it's because you've got something unique going on that's not necessarily working on Facebook or Google, or a younger demographic, or whatever the reasons might be. It's while we run traffic on those platforms, it's not ever usually a main topic of conversation. People know that Facebook and Google is where their bread is buttered, and they want to focus the conversations there to start for sure. We also offer email management and creative services for email, and those are separate services. So while we have email management, let's call that architecture, that's building frameworks for workflows, which are the automated drip sequences that we've talked about in another video. That's the architecture side, building out campaigns and when to send them based on marketing calendars that are provided from the client. That's the architecture side, building all that stuff out. And then you would have that service on an a la carte basis if you had if the brand had a lot of creative services in-house, or people with experience building that kind of stuff in-house and they wanted to manage that. So if they don't have that in-house, then we offer creative services where we would build the email templates and place the images and write the copy and make sure the CTAs are looking good and it is the split tests are performing and we're optimizing, all that kind of stuff. So those are two separate services. We have SMS services as well. We offer the management side and the creative side separately. You can bundle those with email. It's the same kind of offering, a different pricing for SMS as well as email. And then we offer post-production creative services. So it's not that we're going to have videographers going out and taking the video, or photographers doing a bunch of photo shoots with flat lays and lifestyle shots. It's that the brand is in charge of going to get all that content. They provide it to us, and then we take it and chop it up into a million little pieces and turn it into a bunch of GIFs and video slideshows and videos and vertical videos and square, and edit the sizing and make display ads. We can use it programmatic. I mean, a lot of different things we can do with the creative once they've got it. Because you'll do a full day shoot, half day shoot, you might have 4 hours of video. We're going to take that and turn it into hundreds of ads. So because that's what's needed. We need to split test the creatives to determine what works best. And that service is offered on an a la carte basis, and it's infinite number of creatives. Sometimes we'll make 50 creatives in a week, and sometimes we'll make 6. It depends on how many tests went up, what's working. If something's working spectacularly, we want to hammer it hard, make a bunch of variations, and move those into tests or at least into campaigns. The reason that we're offering these specific service lines is not a coincidence. They all support each other. Facebook supports Google, and email supports both of them. Google supports Facebook, and email supports both of them. SMS supports the whole cohort of people that you're acquiring. And the creative obviously supports the performance side of ads within YouTube or Facebook or display, whatever it might be. So they all work together, and that's the reason we're not doing the CRO and the SEO and Amazon, because we're living in this world of a controlled environment where you have the information for your audience, either pixeled or through email, and we work in this cycle together to make sure that we're driving awareness and then converting people all through the funnel. So at some point we may add additional services, but they'll only be if they provide an increase in the overall return based on our direct response advertising strategies. The next slides are creative services slides. You can see examples of ads that have been used, images that we've made that have been used on websites even, or in organic posts. Certainly that's not necessarily the intention of making all of these creatives. The intention is to make these creatives for ads, but brands own the equity now, so they can do whatever they want with it and put it wherever they want. Ideally though, we've got creatives to the point where we're making a market improvement in ROAS. That's the goal. We want to see your ROAS, or at least the return on the ads compared to what was running before, improve by 2 or 3x. because that's what they're paying for. They're paying for the creatives to improve the ROAS, and that's the goal. We run these creative audits on a monthly basis, which we'll talk about a little more, and those are very helpful for justifying the increased expense for having ads made consistently. Who we are and who we serve. We have three audiences, as it says here: startups, growth, and performance. And that's what it is. We work with a lot of startups. Typically, we're only working with startups that we see good potential to scale in. So if somebody's poorly funded, they don't have enough money to spend on ads, I'm not really interested in working with them. It's really about finding brands that we know will convert, and people that may perhaps have money to spend on ads and are interested in doing that, interested in scaling, interested in growing their company. That kind of thing we're really good at. We've done with 10 or 15 brands successfully, and it's something that we're building a reputation for being good at. Growth is the other. So, some brands are looking to just improve performance, but others want to scale. Not every brand can scale. There's a lot of infrastructure needs that change when you start to scale your efforts. But if you want to take your company from 10 million to 50 million, paid traffic with direct response is certainly one way to do that, and that's where we come in. Now, brands will come to us and look to increase their ad spend without really trying to sacrifice as much on the CPA as they can. Now, while you will spend more money to get more traffic, the likelihood of the CPA going up is very high. You can still have really good returns and even make more money with a lower ROAS because you've scaled more. So we're very fluent in talking about how those numbers work and the mindset on how to do it. If you have a 3x return currently at 100K in spend, and you're going to go up to $500,000 in spend, and the ROAS goes to 2.5, well, you've really actually made way more money, even though the ROAS is lower, because the overall gross numbers are much higher, and your actual revenue after COGS or contribution margin and variable ad costs is actual net dollars is a lot higher. We're very comfortable talking about that kind of stuff, and again, it goes back to having the understanding of what it's like to own a business, run a business in consumer goods. It's like one of the parts of our company that's very valuable in communication. The last group of people is the performance companies that don't have the capital to scale their effort, as one of the companies in the growth or startup section maybe would even be. These companies are really where they want to be, where they can be in terms of their level of scale. Their product orders can't get any bigger. They don't want to invest in new infrastructure for consumer goods. They're just trying to optimize, maybe look to lower their fulfillment costs as well as increase their ROAS or lower their CPA. And that's where we can come in and make optimization changes within the existing budgets. And we've got great case studies of times we've made changes and tripled their ROAS and cut their CPA by 2/3 within a matter of weeks, and certainly within the first month. It doesn't happen every time, but certainly we have done that, and we have case studies that need to get developed if they haven't already by the time you're watching this. That can be really nice to tell that story. So performance is the third side, and there's nothing wrong with bringing on clients that just want to improve their numbers. They're not happy with where they're at. A couple clients, Core and Booty Bag, are a couple of great examples of accounts that were in that situation, and we just improved their numbers right away by making optimization changes. It's about having a systematic way for all three of these groups. It's about having a systematic way, strategy of analyzing data within Facebook and Google, looking at the strategies that have gone on in the past, the ads that have been put up in the past, the interests and keywords that have been targeted in the past, taking what works and developing the strategy, or applying our systematic strategy to what that brand has to offer, if there's any historical data. And if it's a startup, then it's probably just using the systematic way of split testing interests, ad copies, creatives, in order to make sure we get wins, and we're compounding the data to get more and more accurate. And we do it pretty much the same every time, and that's why we're trying to focus on e-commerce brands, because the more we're doing it, the more information we get, the more that knowledge compounds, and the better returns get faster, because we're smarter with tests that we've done in the past. We know what to start with, we know what not to start with when we're testing. So there's not a mystery as far as what to do. It's like, hey, we have this type of company, they're a performance company. Okay, let's adjust the strategy like this. Or if it's growth, or if it's startup, again, the same thing. Okay, yeah, we know what to do. We'll start with this kind of audit. We'll make these kind of changes first. We'll wait 2 weeks, and then we'll adjust this kind of, load this kind of campaign with these kind of interest targeting, or whatever it might be. So it's very systematic, and it's repeatable, I would say. Our work process, this slide, usually starts with an audit. unless it's a startup. An audit, of course, is going in, analyzing all the data, determining what can be changed, making recommendations, identifying missed opportunities, that kind of thing. And when we do an audit, it's this is probably a presentation for an audit, but it's really about trying to showcase what we can do and get excited about what we think these changes how they might improve ROAS. So it's like you're making the plan, but there's not necessarily a strategy. It's more about, unless there's a combination audit strategy presentation, it's more about identifying what's possible. And the strategy is more methodical and action based. It's okay, well, we would make this change and that change, and here's how it would look, here's what the timing would be, that kind of thing. And that happens over the course of 7 days, 10 days. So we all have a plan across all channels. If it's email, SMS, and PPC, but no creative, that affects the strategy one way, but maybe they have a lot of assets. It affects the strategy one way or another. The next is implement. So we'll implement the strategy that's in place, meaning make the changes. Usually the onboarding a client is not like cut all the ads off, load up our systematic way of doing it. The system actually rolls out slower, and it's the same every time if there's campaigns existing, not a startup, obviously. We'll take the campaigns that are existing and running, and we'll make the recommended changes that were found in the audit. To maybe it's eliminating audiences, maybe it's extending audiences or adding a lookalike that hasn't been built into campaigns, and just seeing how those changes improve the performance. And then once those have settled in, then we'll load our own campaigns, more often than not, that we think are going to end up performing better, and we let the two run simultaneously until our campaigns inevitably, which always happens, beat the old pre-existing campaigns, and then we'll eliminate those campaigns and let ours continue to run and soak up most of the budget. Yeah, that's usually the implementation strategy for new brands. Or at least new brands to attention agency. Then we optimize. Once we've made all the changes, we've got our campaigns running and they're running successfully. Then we'll do optimization changes, eliminating keywords, adding new creatives, adding new ad copy or testing new ad copy to try and improve the campaigns. Because right when you launch, every single aspect of the campaigns isn't going to be perfect. There's always changes you can make. So we'll go ahead and make some changes, and that happens continually through the process. It's just about making sure you wait until you have statistically significant information, then making the changes. Otherwise, you may have missed an opportunity by adding a negative keyword too soon or eliminating an interest that didn't necessarily need to be eliminated. Then we scale. Once we've optimized, once we've made the recommended changes, we've implemented our strategy, now it's time to push the budgets if that's what the clients want. And if they don't want that, if it's just performance improvements, we'll continue to optimize. But now is the time at this point to scale the effort, because all systems are go. We've got some wins on split tests. We know the direction. We got a good idea of the cohort of people that are really trying to buy. We're out of the learning phase, and it's time to push. That's usually the sequence of events that happens. The most important part of this whole process, though, is the monthly audit that we're doing. So at the end of each month, we're going to do an audit of the account to determine what wins we've got, what has been a good direction change or improvement that we're confident can continue, what should we lean into, what's a missed opportunity that we need to try now, the whole audit. And then it goes all the way back to the strategize phase. So we'll essentially review the whole account and then say, okay, well, here's the new strategy for the next month. Let's apply this and go through this whole process again. We'll make the strategy, implement it, optimize it, scale it, and then do another audit at the end of the next month. So ideally, the client or prospect here really feels like we're working very hard for them on a weekly basis to achieve their goals, but also being very careful that we're not overlooking something like their last agency, probably, if this is an audit presentation, had some things that they should have tested and hadn't. We don't want to be in that situation. We're being extremely thorough with everything we're doing. Accountability, our philosophy here is that one person's responsible or no one's responsible, and that's why we have an account manager. Also, we don't want our media buyers spending hours and hours, days on the phone talking to clients, fielding their questions, because they're best at optimizing ads, and we want them living in accounts. And that was some feedback that we got when we started the company from other agencies and people working at other agencies that were really unhappy media buyers. Specifically, they were really unhappy that they were spending so much time on the phone. They wanted to just run their ads. So in lieu of having them lose a whole day on the phone all the time, we've decided to have account managers in place, and they're the liaison, and they're more or less the CEO or president of that account. Internally, they own it. They're going to refer to it as my account because it's going to be their account. They're going to feel like they're responsible. If something didn't happen that week, it's their fault, and they're going to take ownership for that, even though they're not the ones doing the work. The account managers are talking with the clients, fielding questions if they're good or bad, and they're talking to the team to make sure that goals are being achieved and determining what changes are being made at a very detailed level. This is not surface level phone calls where we're just, here's your numbers, what do you want us to do this week? It's not like that. It's much more about, here's the changes that we made. These 2 campaigns didn't work, but these are the interest targeting, these are the interests we targeted. This one looked really promising, so we're gonna have that in a new campaign with these new ads and this ad copy, and here's what the test looks like. Also on Google, we eliminated these keywords, and it made this kind of improvement to that campaign, or we loaded this new competitor campaign, and here's what it looks like. Here's what the ads look like. Here's how it should be doing. Here's the budgets. We have a good idea of how the test from 2 weeks ago did now, so we can eliminate half of those keywords or make these kind of products eliminated from our shopping campaigns. Really, so the client has an understanding, even if it's too in the weeds for them, at least they understand that this account manager might not be doing the work, but they need to be able to answer all the questions that the clients have. And that's the level of detailed knowledge that we want them to have, so that they don't need the media buyer on the call to answer all the questions. They know everything that's going on. Every time we're trying to instill in account managers that every time they have to ask the team a question midweek, that's an interruption, and we want to try and avoid that interruption. And to do that, we've got weekly calls on Monday where account managers and media buyers are on the phone probably for 6 hours in a row, discussing all the different accounts, different teams on the calls, not the same people on the call for 6 hours in a row. But that's our day where we set the tasks for the week. We follow up on things that maybe didn't happen the week before that need to get done in the next day or two, or and if they can't get done, why? Is there something broken? Do we still need access to something? And then relay that to the client. And that communication is done on the phone with weekly calls through your account manager. It's done through Slack at any time you have access there. And then, of course, on the monthly meetings, you can talk to the media buyers directly and be really prepared with great questions, and they'll have audit presentations for you and everything. So ideally, we've got this system where you understand every week this one person is responsible for making sure that things happen. What's never going to happen at our agency is you're going to have a call with an account manager, a week's going to go by, and another call with the account manager, and they're not going to know what happened. That's never going to happen, because if nothing happened in that week, the account manager failed, and they need to do their job better or make sure that they're working the team harder to make sure that the account's getting worked on. And that's the reason we've got those systems in place like that. The relationship between account managers and strategists is like this. It's the client talks to the account manager works with the strategist, and the strategist works with the entire media buy team to develop the strategy, to determine what direction they're going to go. How much are they going to spend on one platform or another? What is the prospecting spend percentage, and on what platform? Are there specific products they should focus on that convert better, and how are we going to focus on them? What type of retargeting ads are appropriate? What kind of time frames do we need to keep people in the funnel and then boot them out? How much should we be spending on LTV? These are the kind of things that the strategist is going to work with all media buy teams and email to determine the right direction to take the company. What split test wins have we had in email, and how can I maybe apply that to Google ads, that kind of thing. And so the strategist helps guide the direction of the account. The team leads for each media buy portion, if it's Facebook ads or Google ads or email, those people are working with the strategist to develop the plan, and then working with the team below them to implement the plan. So all those people report back to the account manager and the strategist, so that the account manager has all the information and the strategist is making decisions about what direction to go. The account managers don't make decisions. They are making statements about clients' feedback so that we can achieve their goals effectively, and they're making sure things get done. The strategist and team leads of the paid media departments and email are the ones deciding whether something's working or not and what direction to go, of course with client approval. But that's the way it works. Typically the client's not going to talk to the media buyers and the strategists a lot. That's usually a once a month thing where we go and do a little review. There's a longer meeting. Then they're more satisfied with that level of detail and communication. And some clients don't even want it. They're just, if the ROAS is good, let's skip it this month type of thing, keep going. So it's really up to the client, but that's our overall strategy and structure there. The reporting is a very big differentiator for us. I think a lot of agencies don't spend the money that they need to on a software for reporting. We do. Using something like Data Studio that's free from Google, even if you pay someone to set it up and make it look fancy, it's not going to get utilized because it doesn't pull data properly from all ad platforms. It's just a mess. And you can't aggregate properly maybe, and suddenly your information's not reliable. We pay a pretty penny for a software to do reporting so that you're able to see breakdowns at a high level. Even the CEO would have access to it, and even if they have no idea what is going on in advertising, just looking at numbers, they'll be able to see every day once it's updated, I think at 5 a.m. You can see the aggregate numbers for every ad platform if we're on Facebook and Bing and Google and YouTube and even programmatic or LinkedIn or Pinterest. All those kind of data points and email, all of those kind of data points will pull in and update every day. And well, I guess email has to be manually pulled, but the point is that you'll be able to see it by logging in aggregate. What did we spend yesterday? What was my revenue yesterday on the 1-day attribution window in any case? You'll be able to see the last 30 days. You'll be able to compare 30 days over 30 days or longer. And that kind of information, just having that readily available is very, very valuable, because otherwise you got to go into Google, get your numbers, write it down, put it in a spreadsheet, go to Facebook, get your numbers, go to Pinterest, get your numbers, go to Bing, get your numbers. In this case, you can just look in the aggregate column and see exactly what's going on. But you can also see it separately. So if I go to my Facebook tab, I can see all the Facebook numbers, and I can see it broken out by prospecting, retargeting, new customer acquisition, which is the combination of both of those, and past purchasers. And I can look within this portal at all the campaigns that are running. So I don't ever need to go back into these ad platforms. I can see the keywords, I can see the campaigns, I can see whatever I want to see, and we totally customize it. If something's in there, like you want to see, I don't know, impressions and they're not reporting, you can add that in. Or you want to see leads or signups, you can see that as well. So the information that's pulling is very customizable, it's very helpful. Certainly we have templates and standard information that we provide, but if a company wants something that's provided differently, that's not an issue. And it's something that brands really appreciate because it's timely, accurate through API, there's no human error potential here, and it's something we rely on for most of our reporting. And honestly, it saves the client time and it saves us time in the weekly calls, because we don't have to spend time reviewing all these metrics as much. We can go over them and say, here's the numbers, you guys have access, you can log in every day and see all this stuff. So here's what we're looking at. Now let's talk about strategy stuff, like what are we doing this week? What did we do last week? And that's the stuff that really matters. I don't need to be walked through the numbers necessarily. It's more about what did we accomplish? What are we gonna accomplish? That kind of stuff's exciting and helpful to talk about.